Hi there. We are here with the Gauntlet community, and we're going to be playing World of Dungeons. We're going to be doing the module Blood in the Chocolate. And that is this. Oops, I'm getting a lot of shine. There we are, right there. It is by Keel Chinier, and it is really nifty. It's kind of a dark version of Willy Wonka, and Willy Wonka starts off a little bit dark. So this is pretty deep into the awful. I want to say to begin with that as a Gauntlet game, we have the Gauntlet inclusivity policy in play. We want to make sure everybody feels comfortable, has fun. We also have on the table the X card, which if you don't know, if there's something in here that you go, this is just kind of killing my fun, or this is making me uncomfortable, or this is a bit too much for me, put your hands up like this, put something in the chat, say something to me. You don't have to explain it at all, except I may ask for just kind of the clarification of where the problematic moment was. We'll rewind it, go off somewhere else. It is for everybody here to feel safe. Please feel free to use it. I'm going to let everybody kind of take a look at the character classes and decide what they want. It doesn't really hurt if we have multiples of each type. So if we wanted a couple of people want to play thieves, that's perfectly fine. I'll say that for kind of party balance, you may find you want a couple, not everybody being wizards, but, if that's how it turns out, that's how it turns out. For tone, I do want to say this is a dark scenario. In a lot of places, there are some pretty gruesome things. I personally like body horror. And this module gives me some of that. There is also a little bit of a kind of a sexual cruelty overtone in a couple of spots. There is some rather disturbing violence and sexual type violence in this. If this is a problem, again, please use the X card. Or if there's anything, in most cases, I'm against having any sort of sexual assault in a game. I tend to avoid any sort of hurting children. Shouldn't have any real trouble with like children. We may encounter a couple, but it's not going to be anything I think that gets too dark. But if there is something that you'd really like to steer away from, please feel free to put it up in the chat or tell me here. And again, if there's anything during the course of the game, just X card it. We'll move on. All right, everybody understand? Good. We're going to be playing in the 17th century. In fact, it is 1636. And we're going to be on the kind of northern coast of the Netherlands in a place called Friesland. During this period, and it is, while we have clerics, we have wizards, it is going to be a fantastic sort of version of real history. But it is worth noting that firearms are here. There are muskets, there are flintlocks, there are those sorts of ball and powder type of weapons. Feel free to use those. Your enemies certainly will be. And we are looking at a situation where one particular nobleman, a lady by the name of Lucia Castillo, has sort of cornered the market in chocolates. She has developed a process which, well ahead of the real historical time period, she's come up with bars and truffles of sweetened and milked chocolates. Something we don't really see until the 18th century in the real world, but Lucia has already figured it out. And it is taking Europe by storm. And she's making a fortune off of it. Consequently, there are a lot of people that want to know her secrets. I am going to real quick read the introduction, and then I'll let us kind of go through and sound out what characters we'd like. In the beginning of the 17th century, chocolate had gone from being a strange drink from the New World to a sensation on the minds of every noblewoman in Europe. What was once sold as bitters drinking chocolate is now available as a sweet and creamy bar that has the nobility of Europe at a point where they can't seem to get enough. Its demand now exceeds that of coffee, liquor, tea, even spice in some countries. One woman is responsible, Lucia de Castillo, an enigmatic Spaniard living in the Netherlands. She controls the flow of chocolate from her coastal factory across the whole of Europe. And as her confectionery flows out, money flows in and her fame grows, as does the jealousy of her success. Every trade concern across Europe has tried to figure out the secret to her chocolate and to her success, but to no avail. It is a secret that some would pay handsomely for. Now, another brave set of adventurers has been hired to discover the secret of Lucia de Castillo's chocolate. And that's y'all. What I sort of want us to do, just to lay out a little of my idea, is I'm going to start us just outside of the factory, at the docks, or even at the coming up to them. But I'd kind of like for us to do, as we get there, a little flashback set of scenes where either we see you guys coming together, each person will get a little flashback where they, can either bring in another character to talk about what bound them together, or how you personally have encountered Lucia in the past and some sort of little relationship or way that you've been influenced by her. Just to get it out in the open to begin with, the adventure lets us know Lucia is a horrible person. There is nothing redeeming about Lucia at all. So let's, don't go worrying about searching for, oh, she's misunderstood. She's not. She's just flat out terrible. Anybody want to start off by saying what class they like?
I would love to do cleric if no one has objections.
I don't have an objection. I did have one question, though. Since this is quasi-real world, are clerics then going to be, like, Catholics and
I was going to go Jesuit.
Jesuit, okay.
Okay. And yeah, they would follow. And there is, of course, a big, at this time period and in the Netherlands, there's a bit of a conflict between Catholics and the Protestants. The Netherlands have become part of the Protestant Revolution, but they were controlled by the Spanish for many, 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 many years and have just gotten free of them. And of course, the Spanish are extremely Catholic in the period. It comes up a little in the game, but not a ton. All right, so a cleric. Tejas, anything you're thinking of?
Yeah, I was maybe thinking of going fighter, kind of doing somebody who's like a professional duelist, somebody who some noble knows that he's going to have a conflict with somebody else. He hires somebody to be his guy when he slaps somebody with his white glove.
Nice. Excellent.
But I was gonna say, Mike, I know you were thinking of Ranger, and there's that like Ranger trope of two weapons. Were you planning on doing that? Because I kind of had the rapier and main gauche image, and if you're doing two weapons, I might change mine.
I was thinking very focused on archery, like range stuff, and probably less on the melee front.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Then I think that works.
Okay. All right. And Mike, you think you're wanting to do a ranger?
I think so, yeah.
Excellent. And Patrick, any thoughts on what you'd like to play?
I like thief.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Well, as we're setting up our characters, and you can see in the character creation setup there, go ahead and roll up, if you haven't already, your stats. And also, there is, in this, we have skills. You have some that will be granted by your class. They're right there at the beginning. And then you get to choose another. Skills allow you to, if you roll below 6 on something that your skill is applicable for, then you can instead take it up to a 7 to 9 result. It's just the complication may be a little bit more heavy than a natural 7 to 9. But, in that, it keeps you from having a fail. So it's nice. Skills are very good. You will also get to choose special abilities, and they have the descriptions for them there. And no wizard with us today, so that's kind of neat. And I'll let y'all take just a second to go ahead and get all of your things chosen. As I said, we're going to be going into this chocolate factory. And I want us to start off where we're arriving, but then we'll discuss why we came. The factory itself is an enormous structure. It has one rather large tower on it. The rest of it, though, is 30-foot tall, big factory area. It has 2 entrances as far as anyone can tell of. One is to the front entrance, kind of the office place where people come when they visit. And the other is a set of big industrial type doors where they unload and load things for, making the chocolate and taking the chocolate out. Around the perimeter, there are guard towers. There are 4 of them at each of the corners. And there's also a large guard house. Lucia keeps her guards always on duty. They sleep there, or on premises, so they sleep there at the guardhouse when they're not on their shifts. Then they occasionally get to go home. However, there's this odd thing about it. Rumors say that nobody goes to work there. No one ever leaves the factory. No one's quite sure how this chocolate's made. There's also a large dock where ships come in, bringing her supplies for making her chocolate and taking it back out. And there are dock workers, depending on if a ship is supposed to be coming in. There are more. But there's always at least a few people working the docks. And there is some distance away, about 2 or 3 miles, a small town, kind of a factory town. Most of their money comes from supporting the factory here. It is December, and so it is cold. Northern Netherlands can be a chilly place. You certainly got a lot of cold wind coming off the North Sea. And so we are all going to need to be thinking of, the elements somewhat outside. And everybody getting set up pretty good?
Yeah, so I actually have a question.
Yes, sir.
What are there reroll rules for World of Dungeons, or am I just what I roll?
You're just what you roll.
All right. I'm kind of terrible, everyone, but we'll make it work.
And I think it's worth noting real quick for those who haven't played that when we roll for our hit points, you roll multiple dice, but you take the highest. As you get higher level, you can take more of the dice. So in effect, let's see, for your first time, you have 1 hit die and an extra hit die equal to your con bonus. You would roll those, whichever one was the highest. That would be your hit points to start with. As you get to 2nd level, you would get to keep 2 of the dice rolled, and so forth. And whenever we heal, we'll do that same process again. So it's conceivable you could get healed and be in worse shape than before then. And I guess I will say, if somebody does die, we'll just put together another character. They're super quick. And will somehow be found here in the factory or sent in. It is a pretty dangerous system, I will say that. All right. Looks like we're beginning to get a good bit of our stuff down.
Okay.
I didn't see the skill explanations. Are they just pretty much obvious and self-explanatory based on the list on the character sheet.
Yeah, what you'll do is just whichever of those skills, and you'll say, for
and then
example,
one other one. Yeah.
Right. And for example, like athletics, you would say to use it, if you were trying to leap across something, you say that fits for my athletics, right? And I go, sure. Meaning then that, if you rolled 6 or less, you could take it up to that 7 to 9. And feel free to point them out. I'll try and point them out as well, but feel free to say, hey, you think this applies? To give yourself a chance to use them. All right. Wester and Con Gilno. Look at you, Tejas, with a big 12.
I was going to say, I know. I got a big smile and apparently syphilis.
Oh.
I think that kind of fits, actually. Do you guys remember an old movie called Plunkett McLean? I think it was like Johnny Lee Miller and Robert Carlyle playing. Like Johnny Lee Miller is sort of like a fop, and Robert Carlyle is a duelist. And so I was thinking of basically mashing up the two of them.
Nice. And do keep in mind, everybody, that you could play. You don't have to place them in order of your role if you didn't want to. I don't know if I made sure everybody knew that, but place as you'd like. Isabel, all right. And Mike, are you thinking Isabel does she use a bow or does she use a gun?
I think she uses a bow, actually. I think she is I'm kind of envisioning her as a sport archer who has had a run-in with our antagonist.
Excellent. Okay, well, as everybody's putting their last little bits down, I'm going to just give a quick little overview of the things you know about Lucia, so that when we do these flashbacks, we can have a little bit of an idea of where to go from. She grew up in South America. That's well known. In a fairly well-to-do family, but she married extremely well. And married a nobleman while over there. However, despite what many say was a fairly loving marriage, he died young, and through pretty harsh and Machiavellian means, she made sure that his brothers didn't inherit, and she took control of all he had there. However, because of the kind of bias of the day, most people didn't feel that a woman should be running this sort of stuff. And so she had kind of been ostracized a little and had decided that she would find a way to show them all. And taking a lesson from her conquistador ancestors, she went out into the jungles of Peru to expand her own possessions there. And from all indications, managed to do quite well. She then packed up and moved over here to start this factory. She is known for being reclusive, as in she rarely leaves the factory, but she has had favorites over the years who come to her to visit. She's had paramours of various sorts, though the rumors suggest that she may prefer the company of women to men. And she also is a well-known patron of the painter Rubens, and has taken quite a bit, or spent quite a bit to support him, and has commissioned paintings from him in the past. She is Catholic in what is mostly a Protestant nation, and her money and sort of power with her mercantile concern here has kept her protected in a lot of ways from any sort of bigotry that may come from that. In fact, most people are a little intimidated by her. They say that she's a forceful woman when you meet her, a larger woman, tall, and strongly built. And some people even say that she walks around armed to the teeth. But, it's her factory. Why not? All right. Do we feel like we've got everything down for the most part? We can feel free to kind of add things on as we go, I think. Especially equipment-wise, I suppose. Though it might be nice to go ahead and have a few of the things that, like your weapon, or a few of the little tools. And if we're feeling pretty good about it, I think I would like to get us started. So the wind is blowing heavily, and there's spatters of sleet and snow coming down around you as you can see the large dock area for Lucia de Castillo's factory. It's in the distance, and you could see steam and smoke coming out of the top from smokestacks. You are looking at the docks, and we'll find out here in play in a moment how you wish to come in. But there are a few people bundled up working the docks, and you can see that there is a ship unloading at the moment there. And people are, taking the crates and putting them together on the loading dock. It is midday, but it is gray and dark and wet. And so why don't we start with a little bit of a flashback of how we got here. Tejas, would you like to give us a little flashback for your character and introduce it to us?
Alrighty, so Calder Vance is a little down on his luck right now. He is recovering from a social ailment. He, is quite used to being part of society because that is where he, one, finds his employers, and two, finds his marks. And he basically kind of lives by the sword in a noble culture. But I'm thinking that his whole reason for being here is that at some soiree or shindig, he was essentially cheated incredibly, maybe not even cheated as much as conned out of the vast majority of his money and holdings. So in Conan style, he was wealthy and currently is not. And so he is going in to find out more about her, basically to try and get some money, kind of recover his fortune, assuming that there's somebody who has said, hey, as a bit of extortion, if you can give me some leverage, then perhaps I can see to helping you out with your social situation.
Nice. All righty. And we'll come, I think we'll do an introduction, then we'll hit some flashbacks of the scenes that brought us in. That way everybody kind of knows who everybody is. So, Rich, would you like to introduce your character to us?
Con Gilno is an Irish Jesuit, and I will spare all of you by not doing an Irish accent. and he is actually a papal spy in the Netherlands. And I'll do flashbacks in a moment, but yeah, he is a spy for the Pope and is an ostensible Catholic. He's very interested in the lady with the chocolate.
Excellent. Patrick, would you like to introduce your character to us?
So I'm playing Wester. He's fairly small and thin, dark hair, blue eyes, and I think I'm also here, sort of spying a little bit. If we're going like, if this is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like I'm thinking sort of someone like a Slugworth hired me to get in, but one of the other chocolate makers, one of the other candy interests or whatever that's upset by Lucia's grip on the market, has, I think, hired me to go in and find like a recipe of some of her stuff, or what is the secret behind her chocolate, or just steal some shit.
Excellent. All right. And Mike, would you like to introduce your character?
Yeah, so Isabel is a competitive archer. She's not great at it, but is probably like towards the upper end, but is maybe kind of like always outside of meddling in events and that kind of thing. And I don't know, perhaps you have a thought on like why Lucia would have sponsored a tournament. But Lucia had sponsored a tournament and showed up at this tournament and was just like being a colossal B word, and like really like laying into Isabel. She maybe missed a couple of her early shots. And at some point, Isabel just got super pissed off and was going to shoot an arrow at Lucia, but was stopped before that could happen. And she is still angry that she did not get her shot. And so she is, this is sort of revenge just for mockery in a way. But I'm sure that she has also been hired, and there's a monetary reward in getting in with the rest of this troop.
That's awesome. And Lucia certainly would be a patron for these sort of competitions, because she likes a strong woman in her life, and so would be the sort who would have, set this up to kind of look over the talent and perhaps even try and seduce a few of them. We've got an introduction from everyone. I am going to lay down a couple of little things so that you can use these in our little backstory or little flashback we're going to do. You do have people who are more than willing to pay to have you find out things for them. The French chocolatiers, kind of as a group, are most upset with how she has just been completely dominating the market. And they would be willing for a sample of her cocoa beans unroasted. They'll give you 200 silver pieces for that. A sample of the chocolate liqueur, which is the pressed chocolate nibs. They'll give you 100 silver pieces for a pint of that. A copy or an original of Lucia's chocolate recipes. They're willing to give 500 silver pieces for that. Any or all non-mundane secret ingredients she might use, they'll give 100 silver pieces each for that. And if you can make a map of the factory, they'll give 500 silver pieces for that as well. So that is something, kind of as a background if you want to, have your scene around someone hiring you. So let's do our little flashbacks as we're coming up to this place. And, again, let's have the flashbacks be either something where you remember dealing with Lucia yourself, where you're getting hired, or where you are interacting, how you became buddies with, each of you, because you are a team somehow brought together. Want to start with you, Tejas? Does that sound good?
Okay, so I'm thinking that you know, having been down on my luck, I was at a coffee shop, probably, consuming some chocolates, with the last of my money in the desperate hope of still looking like I was relevant, because I was hoping to scope a client. And I think the man that I was talking to revealed to me that at a recent function, I don't really know the nature of his business or his business relationship with Lucia, but I get the understanding that he was snubbed rather publicly and in front of whatever their mercantile peers might be. And so he is looking for some sort of revenge. It's not that he's in the candy business himself, but if I can cause her some harm in some way, either destroy something that matters or reveal a trade secret or something else that he can really lay claim to, not because he wants it, but he wants the one-upmanship of, hey, I did this for you for our, social tete-a-tete. So he and I are kind of at our coffee shop, and he probably lets me know there's a few others who have similar, interests in seeing her downfall in one way or another. Probably hands me a folded envelope of, really nice vellum with this sort of florid handwriting that gives me a time and a spot to meet up with these other individuals who I meet later on.
Okay. Yes, a clever man can go forth and find not only riches, but a reputation for himself. I don't do a good French accent, sorry.
It's all right.
As he hands this off to you, and so we see that scene end. Rich, would you like to give us a little flashback scene bringing you into this?
Sure. I think I'm just coming from my election to the Board of Elders in one of the Reformed churches here, in one of the Protestant churches here, being a Jesuit spy and not an open Jesuit. When one of the papal secret messengers brings me a message from Olympia Pompili, who is, according to Wikipedia, Pope Leo's secret mistress, sister-in-law and secret mistress, and I've forgotten her name. Lucia. Lucia has recently made a donation to the Pope's erotica collection, a grandmaster style, an old master style portrait or painting called Lesbos, which is shows the poet Sappho on Lesbos among the shepherds and other people who live on Lesbos. And the poet Sappho in this painting looks suspiciously like Olympia, and Olympia is outraged. It's one thing to be the Pope's secret mistress. It's another thing to have everyone know you're the Pope's secret mistress.
Probably got Rubens to paint it for.
Yeah. So I have been asked to cause problems for Lucia, and I am looking for people to assist in the causing of problems.
All right. Would we like to do maybe a scene then of you speaking to one of these others to bring them in?
The painting is quite excellent. Thank you. Rubens does great work. I could do a scene. Could we maybe do the rest of the introductions and maybe
Certainly.
kind of look back?
Certainly.
Okay.
Patrick, would you like to do a flashback scene for you?
So I think it actually picks up there, sort of in the middle of con scene. As he's walking away from the messenger and sort of considering the message, the papal messenger like puts back his hood, and it's Wester standing there. And having intercepted the message and read it along the way, he's gonna go off to a meeting with the Slugworth type fellow. Do you have a name or a particular person for that?
Let's see. They're French, so we'll call them. Let's do escargot.
All right, so I go to meet Monsieur Cargo at a cafe, and I let him know, like, now the Vatican has decided to make their move. They're sending someone in to disrupt things, and this person will act like a perfect lightning rod for all of Lucia's suspicion and anger. I can slip in with them, and no one will suspect me at all.
Excellent, Monsieur Wester. This seems like a wonderful idea. You will be rewarded very well.
I think maybe he like slips across that list of like the bounty items that they're looking for.
Excellent. And Mike, would you like to do a little flashback scene for you?
Yeah. So kind of picking up off the sort of the end of that tournament that started everything. Isabel has not been successful. She has not medaled again. She's had a string of losses here and is running out of money as well as being pissed. And so a group of Spanish architects approach her and kind of point out, like, we noticed that you are both have a reason to be pissed off at Lucia, as well as have a good eye. Maybe not the best physical skills at shooting an arrow. And she kind of takes slight at that. But yeah, they essentially like go through and say, like, we could use somebody to, we would like a pretty thorough map and some diagrams of her structure, because it's quite complicated and marvelous, and very few people have seen inside, but we know that there's some really clever and efficient things that if we could apply to other projects that we have. And so they agreed to kind of pay her way to the Netherlands, and yeah, give her
Excellent.
a silver bonus as well.
All right.
So yeah.
And so as they're handing this off, these things off to you, he will. I'm not even going to try a Spanish accent. He will say, I suggest you find someone to help you. It is said that her facility is very well guarded.
Like nods and takes note of that. Yeah.
Okay. So we've gotten these flashback scenes as once again we see the four of you looking down towards where the docks are. You can see that there is a fence around to keep the public out. But you can also see a sign on there, temporary workers needed. I'm going to, just to keep things a little easier, say we all speak the language, unless, we lost Rich. But say we all speak the language, unless you have something if you want to not be able to speak Spanish or Dutch, feel free. But it might be easier if we're all at least capable of speaking in this. There's Rich back. I was saying, Rich, I think we're going to go with everybody being able to speak the language.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the four of you looking down, you can see that there is the sign, temporary workers wanted. And we can see that there is, a good dozen or so people busily working to unload this ship. Why don't we do now a how we got together sort of thing, as we see the four of you shivering in the cold, and maybe we'll start a little over, so I don't just pick on Tejas every time first. I'll skip one down and let Rich. Why don't you? As the cold and wind comes around, you turn to one of your companions, and why don't you say a little of how the group got together? We'll pass that on down.
I think I noticed Wester slipping away. And when I looked carefully at the seal, I noted that it was resealed with a slightly different type of wax than the seal that was pressed on. And I know that any good messenger never delivers a message they haven't read yet. So on behalf of Olympia de Pompili, I go and talk to Wester about if he's eager to return to Italy right away, or if he's eager for some employment.
You know, the journey back all the way to Italy, it's so far, and a little extra money to make the trip more enjoyable. I'm not opposed to it, and besides, I mean, obviously you're on a holy mission, so
I think I also
would be
mentioned
willing
that
to support that.
compared to Amsterdam, Rome can be such an uptight place. I mean, Amsterdam gets all sorts of imports from the Far East, from the New World, all sorts of delightful imports. And Rome can just be so uptight about such things.
It's true, and you know, the good Lord put so much effort into all of the world. Why restrict oneself to one tiny corner of it and not take in the wonders of different places?
Besides, if you're spying on Protestants, everything can be forgiven.
Exactly. You understand?
Yes.
Lovely. All right, and so as we see that scene, I suppose the two of you kind of shaking hands to seal the deal of working together. I'm going to go to you, Patrick and Wester. You are in one of these coffee houses here in Amsterdam as a ship has come in from Spain. There is currently a bit of a lull. They had the 30 Years' War, which was the War of Dutch independence, basically, and that has died down. So there's a tentative peace at the moment. So Spanish ships are starting to come back into dock, though they're not extremely frequent. And as you are sitting there in the coffee house, would you like to? I say that so that you can perhaps have Isabel as the person you wish to speak to, or of course you could choose someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I could run across Isabel. I don't, I'm sorry, I'm just struggling with like what would make her stand out, or why would I?
Well, that's a good question. Mike, why don't you, as Isabel's coming out and she's, kind of got this mission on, how does she look and what are you doing?
So I think it's probably fair, like she's from southern Spain. She is not used to the cold. And I think perhaps you see her just like she's wearing like, like very sleek, kind of like athletic, like archery, almost like a rider's pants and like that kind of thing, like very like tightly cropped stuff. And yeah, she has her just like she is just shivering and probably mumbling under her breath, like, of course this frigid bitch lives up here. And yeah, like is just like
got your bow over your shoulder?
Probably, like, yeah, like I would say like it's, and yeah, like I would imagine like it is I mean, what do you call the holster of a bow? Whatever that is, like looks like very like prim and proper and like somebody who really knows what they're doing, or at least is like very dedicated to this.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that is definitely noticeable about her, that she is probably like within this
Okay. And Wester, you could, feel free. You could even like have seen her before shooting, or even know a little of the incident of how, since Lucia, it seems like her aim has not been as true.
Yeah, I think I'll notice her and say, not used to the local climate yet.
Not at all. Never will be. Hate it. Just hate it.
Well, I come from rather warmer areas. It's a nice change of pace, I think.
And are you? I assume you're better prepared than she is, or
Yeah, I think he has like a black furred cape sort of thing.
okay. And so she looks at you and is just like, "Well, at least you knew how to dress for this." My first time up here.
I've been making preparations for this season's work for a while. I have all sorts of things laid out. You seem like you're rushing into something sort of unprepared.
I guess you could put it that way. I know what I'm up here for, and I'm going straight in.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
So maybe we just like shoot the shit for a while, and
Yeah.
like it eventually like if we head into a coffee shop or whatever over a warm drink, and maybe
as you go into the coffee shop, and you're just kind of giving conversation. Wester, having seen, you kind of shivering, is nice enough to, share a table with you. As inside of this coffee house, it's pretty much a bustle. I mean, it's people going on, and there is a large group that are over buying these little chocolate delicacies, and you can see that that they are, just agog over them. And you can hear the conversation behind you. Oh, the Castillo chocolates, the most wonderful. I can hardly go a day without one, or two, or 12. And they're just, eating and enjoying them. When one of these gentlemen that's eating it, he starts, and out from his mouth begins dripping the chocolate. And then from his ears, brown rivulets begin to run. Oh, I don't feel so good. And he just begins heaving up just rivers of this chocolate, and it begins to bleed out from his eyes. And as he falls to the ground, this pool of chocolate just forms around him. And you see the people standing there, oh my goodness. And, the innkeeper comes running over, we need a doctor. And they begin hauling him off. And the people standing there kind of, oh, that's terrible. That's just awful, as they begin picking up more of the chocolates and eating them. And perhaps as the two of you are looking over there, hearing the Castillo name, we can fade out as taking for granted the name will come up in your conversations.
Okay.
All right. Sound good? All right. I think that sounded like a nice kind of get-together scene for both of y'all, if that seems good with y'all. So why don't we go over to you, Tejas, and let's see how you found your way to this group.
I think that I kind of come not exactly like hat in hand like a beggar or anything like that, but to wherever Khan is staying, and very appropriately say, Signori, I have a letter of introduction. I've been told that we may have some common purpose. My name is Vance, Calder Vance, and I, stick out a hand that, I'm all, coiffed up and have like the gloves, but and the whole outfit and stuff. But you can also see that it's like kind of worn. Like I've been in these clothes for a while now. There's like stains that should have been washed out that aren't. But I kind of, with a flourish, pull out the envelope and hand it over to you for you to inspect.
And I'm sorry, I missed who you were doing that to.
To you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. I examined the envelope.
And it probably says something to the effect of, this person has been hired as my representative to, sow some mischief for, I'm sorry, Lucia, right? Lucia? Okay. For Lucia, please see fit to, use him as you see fit for your purposes. And I mean, we'll presume that my employer is known to you. Like, it's not a mystery who the signature at the bottom. He's not trying to hide it. Although, it's probably just like an initial that you would recognize. But if somebody came across it, they wouldn't necessarily know who that is. Somebody you've been in correspondence with, there.
I mean, someone of high character. Because I'm, clearly a good Protestant. I ask you if you have. Are you a native of the Netherlands, Calder?
I am. I suppose native is as close as you come. I was a transplant. My family's originally from England, but my father came here to paint. It seems like everybody does. And so we came and he studied and he ended up in a studio and we've been here ever since. Of course, I've made my way, and when your life is about the patronage of the nobility, you start to get a feel for their society and find how you might be useful therein.
Would you say you have more discretion than scruples, or more scruples than discretion?
I would say that my discretion is paramount. My scruples are the scruples of finance and social handshakes. I mean, what other scruples are there to be had? I do not mean any offense. I'm assuming that you have some sort of holy symbol.
No. I look like a standard good Dutch Protestant businessman.
Okay.
Nice. Well, as a good Protestant, perhaps this meeting was predestined. This seems fortuitous that we would meet so, and that are you seeking employment right this moment?
I cough a little bit into my hand. You see, I kind of look a little disgustedly at a little handkerchief that's a little spotted with red, and I kind of tuck it away, trying to be discreet. But I say, in point of fact, I am employed. I am to render my services to you, I believe. If I understand the workings correctly.
I am so glad to have you in my service. Please.
I look at you and say, I don't personally have anything against this Lucia. Her food is delicious. But she has crossed a line, I think. And I think that is her habit, to cross many lines. And, these repercussions come seeking you when you go doling out unfortunate things to others. I'm the unfortunate thing, I suppose.
No. I sense that you're a man of good taste and discretion. Let us have coffee. Perhaps let us have spiked coffee and discuss matters of business.
Oh, most certainly, sir. Please, after you.
And I suppose we fade out the scene there as the four of you looking down towards the docks. what would you like to do? Let's go with our kind of seems a little bit like primary motivating force there with Yukon. What would you like to do? What do you say?
So it's midday and they're unloading a ship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I put on my. How are my companions dressed? Are they dressed? Is this sort of like far away from the city? Have we traveled a time?
Yeah, you've traveled from Amsterdam. There is that little small village that supports the factory, and y'all are kind of in between it and the factory itself. You could certainly be dressed for appropriately. Yeah.
Well, if unless anybody is wearing terribly fancy clothes, I put on my best Irish accent. As any traveling Irish person who's been thrown out of their homeland will do. And I, hat in hand, go and very kindly and warmly look up to the person who seems to be standing in a position where they're in authority, and just say, "Please, sir, please, can we? We're all family people, and we've got to send money back. Can we get an honest day's work from you?"
All right. You go up to a man who is definitely the one giving orders. He is tall, very thin, very skinny, angular face and long nose. And as you come up, he turns to you, and as you say that, and I'm going to roll the die of fate to see what how he's feeling about you guys. I got a 3. He says, just, "Irish, eh? Well, they say you work hard, and I could use a bit of strong backs. I'll give 2 silver a day. You unload the ship, you put the boxes here. You go home. That's the job." You're muted, dear.
I wasn't saying anything important.
Oh, okay.
You're exceptionally generous, sir. You're exceptionally generous. We unload the ship, and we take them inside.
No, you don't take them inside. You put them here. The other ships put things inside. The mistress is very careful about who delivers to the actual factory. Can't just have any sort of scum going to the factory, you know. Any of you guys, you're there. Any of y'all want to say anything as he says this, or?
I would say that Isabel is offended by being called scum. And yeah, like, who are you calling scum?
Lady. Well, my apologies, ma'am. Certainly wouldn't want to offend your delicate sensibilities.
I'm certainly not delicate, but I'm also not scum.
Maybe I misspoke slightly. Why don't we have you roll make a roll here? Sounds like charisma.
Okay. And okay, so this is a 2d6.
2d6, and add your modifier for your charisma. And I don't know if you have an applicable skill, but I'll look real quick. Probably not.
So the modifier is 1. So I don't understand how to roll for your party.
I'm sorry. Let's see. Did you just roll the clear ones there, or did you roll the 2 green ones? Have you rolled?
I hit. Should I re-roll or?
Let's see. Let me move down.
I'm confused that those numbers are. Yeah.
I'm going to move some things down real quick.
Okay.
And we'll just have you do a re-roll. And
right.
What you can do here is if you'd like to do, say, those clear ones, the 3 and the 4, just highlight them and then hit the green button at the top, which is re-roll selected. And then you can use those same dice over and over and over again.
Oh, I might just not have the window open enough. That's the issue here. Okay, got it. So I just do that, and then I do this in theory.
Oh, okay. All right. Looks like you rolled a 4 plus your 1 is a 5.
Great rolls here today.
He says, well, if you can work hard, that's fine with me. We don't let people go up to the factory because the mistress is concerned about contaminating the chocolate. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sure you're all decent people. 2 silver, you unload the ship. If that's all right, Your Majesty. And so, if you decide to take this on, you spend, yes?
I think while this is going on, I was kind of like stepped in the back. Khan was saying, people are dressed up, so he was trying to look real, needy, and my clothes are not going to fit that. So I probably am kind of like pulling my oil cloak a little bit tight, and I whisper to, I gotta make sure I get names. I whisper to Wester, hey, they're all sitting there talking. Do you think you can grab hold of that manifest and see what the delivery? We might be able to, bluff something in. If I bluster at this guy enough, I should be able to, walk up all gold buttons, pomp and circumstance, and maybe, get in where these guys are. But I want to take a look at that sheet of paper first.
Sure, it should be pretty easy. He's all sorts of distracted by our wonderful archery princess over there.
Absolutely. Get on it.
So yeah, I'll sneak around and go like I'm just going over to start loading the boxes, and once I'm sort of out of his sight, try and come up behind him and get a hold of that manifest.
All right. Sounds like you're going to be making a roll there. What do you think that is going to call to there? Is that like a dexterity, or is it something more like say a wisdom because of your knowledge of how to do this? What do you think?
Well, I have a stealth skill, and I have the tinker special ability. You can attempt to quickly pick a lock, pick a pocket, or disarm a trap.
Excellent.
Thinking dex, probably.
All righty. Roll it up, and with your stealth, you know for sure you won't get a fail.
So it's a 9.
Ooh, very nice. You managed to lift the manifesto from, he has it kind of set in a pouch at his side. You pull it free and slide back away from him as he's conversing with them and, basically directing them over towards, that needs to come down here, hop onto that ship. Let's hoist those all down as you pull it away from him. And are you taking it back over to Calder?
Yeah.
Okay. He hands it off to you.
Basically, all I'm looking for is something to name drop, something that's like maybe small and particularly expensive amongst the goods. And I'll try and, since I've kept myself a little bit separate from these guys, kind of walk around and then come down the road from the factory side instead of these, and just start shouting about, we've got this Nicaraguan bean. What are you doing? I know that small satchel is what we need. We don't need all this other stuff. Tomorrow we need the beans today, right now. Why are you being so slow? Just, and
Excellent.
then finally, I'm basically just going to browbeat this guy a little bit. Just say, look, everything else, fine. Get it up there once it's done. But the beans we need tonight. We need it within the next hour if this batch is going to go through well.
His eyes sort of widen.
And then I say, look, you, and I point to, the 3 schlubs that he just happened to hire. Get those 2 casks of Nicaraguan on that cart, unstrap that donkey and put it on the front, and hie it down to the gate. The rest of it will come in time, but we need this now. And please, don't dally any longer, I say to the site foreman.
All right. His eyes have widened, and you see him reach down to pull out the manifest, and he, who are you? I've never seen you before. Why don't you roll me that charisma?
Okay, and I have leadership as a skill, just in case.
Ooh, excellent. Okay, I think that would apply.
And I think as he's pointing and directing people around, I've just slipped myself into be one of the people that he's pointing at, and very following his orders. Oh, I've got to go get that thing loaded. Yeah, right.
So a 9 plus 3 is 12.
Oh, fantastic. He says, I've not seen you before. Are you with the guards?
Step right up in front of him, and I put one hand on the heavily gilded basket hilt of my very ornate rapier, and I say, "You don't need to have seen me. You need to have heard me. I said, get the materials on the cart. Deal with the rest of your job, and I will deal with mine. Hop to it." And then I just turn on him.
He sort of, you, like he said, these need to be up there. I can't believe you're taking this long. And
I will just very irritatedly go up and stand on the sideboard of the wagon and just look like I'm incredibly pissed off until they get the stuff on there and we go.
All right. Well, the other 3 of you start loading under this direction, and you put these 3 casks onto this cart. And as you're starting to head out, the foreman comes up to you again there, Calder, to say, I'm sorry that it took this long. The mistress had not mentioned that there was anything in particular that needed to go up.
Conspiratorially, I kind of look from him to the rest and then look back to him, and I just sort of put a hand on his shoulder and I say, I myself am tense. The brew process will need these beans quickly. I apologize. I can see the quality of help you're dealing with here. And I reach into my pouch and just to pass it off, I take my last gilder and just sort of press it into his hand like it's nothing and just say, do not let my impatience separate you from your work well done. Take care of what needs to be taken care of. I will let the mistress understand that you have expedited our needs.
Thank you. Have you been hired on with the guard, sir?
I'd say I have been hired on to look after Our Lady's most recent dalliances.
Oh, of course, sir. Yeah,
but that needs to be repeated to no one else, of course.
Of course not, sir. No, I understand that the lady, she has a...
We understand nothing other than our crates.
Of course, yes. Move on. And as he motions you away, you guys begin taking the cart up from the docks. The cart creaks as you pass through the docks area and on towards the factory itself. You come to the gates around it, to the area where it's got we have guard posts positioned. And as you're coming up towards where these gates are, you see one of the guards come moving out towards you. And she's like, we hadn't heard there was a delivery.
I will pull out that, manifest and say, of course there's a delivery. What do you think the boat is here for? And I will slap it in and then just point to 3 casks Nicaraguan, 3 casks of Nicaraguan. Is there anything else on this list that's as expensive? Of course not. This needs to come in now.
All right, I'm going to roll a die of fate here. Oh, well, lucky for y'all. And I rolled a 6. He says, well, I suppose that's fine. If you take it up to the loading doors, if you leave it on the dock there, well, the little people will get it. And he says this, and kind of you could see that kind of look on his face of a little bit of fear, a little bit of disgust. You probably don't know what exactly he means by the little people. Just set it there. If you set it down and move away, I'll blow the horns and they'll come get it.
I just sort of like pat him once on the shoulder and look away, like I'm no longer needing to pay attention to him. But as soon as we're away, I kind of look at Signora Gilno and say, I've gotten us in, sir. Sorry. What else would you need of me? And then I kind of step away in deference.
Yeah, I have to say I'm pretty impressed. I was expecting I'd have to stuff myself in one of these boxes at some point.
We might still have to do that.
Oh.
Let's. Can I figure out what he means by the little people? Possibly using Decipher to unravel sort of like complex codes or cultural references.
Yeah.
I mean, there's what my dad called the little people, but I'm pretty sure that does not touch continental Europe ever.
We can roll. Why don't you roll? Sounds like intelligence, maybe, or a wisdom.
Right. Okay.
And I think the skill would apply.
Yep. Already got dice out. So with intelligence, that's a 7.
Okay, doke. The way he looked and the way he talked about it, it did not sound like the fairy folk, which may have been more of, the little people that you would have heard of. The way he spoke of it, it didn't even sound like he was talking about people. There are dwarf people that are in the world, he wasn't talking or didn't seem like he was even talking about a person. He looked afraid.
This is how the English talk about the Irish. And so I'm pretty, I like kind of fascinated by what these strange little people can be. Do we want to stuff ourselves in crates, or do we want to just wait and watch and see the little people come in?
I would say Isabel wants to, or I guess I can go into character here. She's just like, I'm not getting into a fucking crate, but I can keep an eye on what's going on here. Maybe get us a good angle on how we can get in, follow them in, maybe.
Well, Lady Alamia, I think you may have a better eye for this than I certainly do. I know where the high table is, and that's about it when I'm coming into a place. If they're going to want to lay of the land on paper at some point, I know that there's this gatehouse, I know that there's the factory, but if we want to really get in, maybe some of this needs to get committed to paper. I shrug.
Look, I've squeezed in smaller boxes, I guess. I mean, I could maybe get some idea of what's going on inside, find a door, something to open for people.
And to give you a quick view, as you're coming at it, the factory, you've left the docks and you're looking at the massive factory structure. There is this guardhouse that you've just passed as you're going in. There is, where he's pointed, is a loading dock. And it's got 3 big doors. They're solidly closed. They look substantial. And then further along that face, you could see where the entryway is for like visitors. It has two beautifully carved wooden doors. They are solidly shut, though. But over the top of it, it says Castilla Chocolatier Corporation, possibly. And it has the date founded, which is 1616.
What's the sense that we get of how well watched this area is?
These guard towers are pretty tall. There's the one that was there at the gate with you, but you could see men looking out the guard posts there. You get the impression there's probably two in each one. You also can see off to the side the big, it's detached guard house. And you see a guy standing out front of it smoking a pipe. And you could guess maybe there's some others inside. You had been told that the guards live here on premises and then rotate shifts in the towers.
The guards on the towers, do they seem to be more watching out or in? Is this like guarding the castle walls or watching a prison yard?
There aren't very many people that come up. And so at the moment, the ones that have good view on you are watching you. As you were coming up, they were looking out. They were making sure that no one was like sneaking to climb over the walls or trying to sneak into the area. But right now, you're the most interesting thing they're seeing. So they're kind of keeping an eye on you. Probably not like, it's not like they got their bows out and their muskets out and they're pointing at you. But, they're keeping a casual eye on you and down towards the docks and everything. But you haven't risen to like you're a threat.
Besides a crate being no place for a lady, I also don't see how we're going to get into these crates without getting seen.
Yeah, I think the one thing we can do is to walk out and come back at nightfall. I mean, that's one option.
And you were told the crates being unloaded, another crew would come in tomorrow morning to take them to the factory.
I mean, didn't they also tell you, Calder, to blow a horn and they would come out and get them?
I think they said once we dropped them off and moved away, they'd blow the horn. So I think they're going to see us just leave the goods behind. I think if we're just sort of loitering there, they're going to wonder what's going on. So, yeah, I think maybe coming back, just using this to scope things out and sneak in later, I mean, maybe that's the best bet.
Could we get our hands on that horn?
I don't even know what horn they need to blow. Maybe once we see what it is, yeah.
Yeah, see how this stuff plays out here. And then follow that horn to wherever that's headed.
Okay.
Maybe we take a wide loop just to see if there's like side doors or even like side windows, just something that would give us access. But right. Basically do what they're telling us to, kind of go around wide, drop off the casks, but see what there is to see if we, And
you said there were doors for like a visitor's entrance.
Mm-hmm. There is the big main entrance to the factory, and then these three that are the loading doors. And like I say, the one that to the entrance is ornately carved, but it is solidly closed. And there aren't any windows, you note, on the entirety of this factory, except on that tower. And you see it does have windows surrounding it completely. And you can kind of see a little bit on the peaked roof of the factory that there are some skylights there. But sounds like you're going to head up there. You take your cart up, unload your casks to the loading dock. And as you move away, you see the guard who was standing there. He reaches underneath his cloak and pulls out just a bugle. And
I think at that point I sort of wink at Wester in the, when you have a moment, take that horn.
Yes, just fetch and retrieve.
As you're walking away, behind you, you hear a set of those big doors creak open. Looking back, yes?
Did the song or did the trill sound like it was not like a military code, but it was like we do this particular thing to announce a certain so?
Yes, it did, and it had that kind of staccato, that little sort of thing, and it sounded precise.
Okay.
And so as you kind of look back over your shoulder, the doors creak open to where they're not more than 2 feet open, and come scurrying out 4 of the strangest creatures you've ever seen. They can't be much more than 3 feet tall, and they're brown like almost like a nut or like chocolate. They're wearing small loincloths despite the cold, and their bare chests are there, but they're sunken and they're kind of thin little creatures, and their heads are enormous and almost have a woody texture to them, kind of cracked, and their enormous bug eyes are looking around and see the casks. And I will try and give you a quick picture of them. But I should have taken a still of it, but that is kind of what you're seeing. As they come out and sort of jostle each other as they grab these casks and begin moving them inside. Again, seeming to care nothing for the cold. And as they get them inside, the doors creak and close. The guard, as you're kind of watching him, and he's looking back at the doors, and he's got this sort of wide-eyed look, and you see him put his hand into one of his pockets of his vest, pull out something wrapped in foil, and begin eating what looks to be a chocolate bar. And as he does, his face kind of calms down, and he gives a little... As you get close, he's like, they get to me every time.
As we're going by, was that the guard that blew the trumpet? Yeah, as we're going by, like, he says that, and I'll open my mouth to start making a response, and I just, like, fall into a coughing fit. And I'm, like, doubled over until he comes over to at least, like, pat me on the back or maybe offer me water. Who knows what sort of jerk he is. But when he gets close, as I'm sort of, like, leaning on him, yeah, possibly, I'm going to slip in and grab that trumpet.
All right.
Maybe to try and help him out. I don't know if there's like an official aid in World of Dungeons, but I'm going to start talking to the guy just because I figure I made this claim that I'm here to talk about dalliance. Might as well like know what her current paramour is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just start saying to him, so is... I kind of nudge up my appearance and step in front of him, and the first thing I do is I look to Isabel and say, "I'm sorry," and I say, "So, at some point, I am going to need to introduce my lady," and I gesture to Isabel, to the lady of the house. I mean, we've come to drop off beans, but we've come to drop off more. And
the guy sort of nods, and he says, "Oh,
but I would not want to intrude on any, current." And I kind of lean in and say, "Liaisons,"
All right.
I wish to cause no offense and simply do this correct. And mostly I'm just trying to talk to him to give Wester that chance to do what he needs to do. But if I get some info out of it, cool.
Yeah. Wester, go ahead and make your roll. I'm guessing going with stealth and your pickpocketing again, and probably off of Dex. And tell me how you roll. And he says, "Oh, well, ma'am, it's It's very nice to meet you. My name's Vice. At the moment, her ladyship does not have anyone visiting. I believe that, in fact, one of her favorites has been arrested in London. Murder, I heard. You know.
Oh my goodness! And I'll just look appropriately scandalized. Well, perhaps it is good that we came at an appropriate time. And
yes, the Lady Castilla has unusual tastes. Rather un-Catholic, if you ask me. But well, you know, I guess it's none of my business. So she pays us well, and you know, we get free chocolate.
I nod and say, "It sounds like quite the treat. When would I bring my lady in? How would be most appropriate to do the introductions?"
Well, usually anyone that is going in will have a missive allowing them entrance. Of course, I've never been in myself.
I say, the letter of introduction will come from the lady's father, of course, but where do I deliver it, man?
Well, the front door. You know, there's only these doors, and no one goes in through the loading dock. The rest of the place sealed up tight as a tick. How did you roll, Patrick?
I got a 12. So like I don't even come visibly close to this guy. Like, he's patting me on the back, and that's nice. There's just, at the very most, there's like a slight rustle of my cloak and maybe a glint of metal. And I think I've left behind like a stone I picked up from the yard that's about the same weight, and I sort of put it in the holster where he was keeping the trumpet as I pull it out.
All right. You make that exchange very quickly. And while you're kind of, you know, doing this, you also notice he has a brace of pistols on him. He is pretty well armed with 2 pistols. And you could see that he has a cartridge box on him as well, as you make this trade. And Tejas, you know, finishing up talk with him.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I was fishing to be a distraction, but...
Okay. He says, yes, just bring the introduction, and the lady always seems to know when she's got a visitor coming. Someone will answer the door, I would guess. Good day to you, and ma'am, I hope you enjoy your visit. And, yeah.
I say I don't say anything until we're away, and then I like immediately look at Isabel and I say, "My pardons. I did not wish to overstep, but it seemed like an opportunity."
And yeah, like she, you could tell that she's steamed. That seems to be her MO. But she kind of is like, I get it. I get it.
I don't know. Personally, I feel like you could have done your hair a little more if it was going to be a date.
And at that, she starts to reach for her knife.
Woo, this is not a lady to be trifled with.
If you want me to cut some hair, I can cut some hair.
No, we're good. It's fine, I'm sure.
As you head back out the gates here, they've opened them a crack for you, and you take the cart out. You hear the guard behind you. All clear, closing the gates. And guy up at the top of the guard post says, all clear, they're through. The gate begins closing, and as it slams shut, one of the guys up on top of the guard tower lets out pulls out, you could see pull out a trumpet, and a series of notes, and then you hear from the other guard posts, kind of like they're checking in. And you guys leave. I think we're going to take our first, or take a break here, give a little bio break, since it's 9:30, and we'll come back and give you guys a second or two to decide what you'd like to do next. So let's take 5 minutes or so, and we'll be back at 9:45. Mike, what was your other game you got to play with the Gauntlet? You're muted. Either I'm not hearing you, or there we go.
How's that? That work?
That's it. That's it.
There we go. Okay. I switched to another room, and so I don't have I had the Yeti microphone in the other one. So I'm playing one of Fraser Simon's Hack the Planet playtests.
Oh, neat.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Sci-fi blades. It's fun, yeah.
I love Fraser. He's a great guy. Neat. Well, we've gotten a little bit of a clue of what's going on here, or at least the entryway to the factory. We saw the strange, creepy little people that seem to work inside there, and we've definitely gotten the impression that not many folks go in. I'm interested to see what plans we have for penetrating into the factory itself. There he is. All right. So after you have left the factory, do you go back to the loading dock, or do y'all just kind of keep on moving?
I think I don't know what the rest of the people are doing, but I think Isabel would try and like keep an eye on maybe what the sort of like flow of traffic looks like in some way. I don't know if I feel like she would want to get high, like, yeah, like have a high vantage point. So kind of work her way into a building or
climb a tree, some of the trees over there.
Yeah.
Okay. You do get up to where you can kind of get a good view, and looking down to the docks. It takes them a couple of hours, but they unload the ship. They've set the crates up in an area, and do the rest of you go back to loading, or Patrick, are you going back and collecting your 2 silver for loading, or are you going to say screw that?
No, I'll stick with Isabel and keep an eye out for her. I think I'm at the bottom of the tree, just steadfastly refusing to climb something so ill-made and haphazard.
There's not even any stairs to get up there.
It's ridiculous.
All right. Khan, are you going back to loading, or are you kind of heading into the forest with the rest?
I think I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take lunch. It's been a busy morning.
Okay.
I'm going to slip into town and look for the local Protestant church.
Excellent. All righty.
And
So
I'm going to keep a lookout to see when the pastor, if the pastor is there today, and I'm going to keep a lookout to where the pastor leaves.
okay. So you're going to go ahead there and keep an eye on that. Tejas, how about Calder? What's he going to do?
I'll look at Khan, since I feel like that's my closest touch, and I'll say, do you want me to go with the others, or do you feel like you might need me by your side?
A little backup would never hurt.
Okay. I'm your man.
All right. The 2 of you head into the town, and as it's, by the time you get there, it's like a mile walk. By the time you get there, it's closing in on the end of the day, and there is a reverend, I suppose, minister, who is there. You see a few folks go into the church, and then you see him come out, and he locks up the doors, and he begins moving over to where there's a small parsonage just off of the church. So you see him walking over there to his little house at about, it's 5 in the afternoon. Do you wish to speak to him there, Khan, or what would you like to do?
I guess it would help if I unmuted myself. I would like to get into his office without him knowing I'm there.
In the church?
Yes.
Or, yeah, okay. The 2 of you, as he goes into his house, you move over. He has locked the door, but it's not, it's a church. It doesn't have a very heavy or, difficult lock. And you can also see that down the side, there are some windows if you wanted to take that entrance instead.
I just want to get as close to the office as possible.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I can lie my way out of this situation, should I need to.
Okay.
But I think we can just knock open a window or a door as close to the office as possible and climb in. I need a stationary.
Okay, excellent. You managed to get in there with little difficulty between the two of you, and his desk. You find some with his stationery, and you even find like some things he's written so that you see his handwriting and his signature.
I don't need a signature.
Okay.
What I'm trying to forge is a letter saying that I am a religious inspector on behalf of the stadtholder of Holland and Utrecht, doing morality inspections.
Oh my!
Of foreign business people.
Oh, all right. Well,
I am authorized to ask questions and do inspections of the morality of foreign businesses on behalf of the stadtholder.
All right. Well, you get this. You get some stationery with for the church, and the two of you can head back out to somewhere that you are able to do this. Meanwhile, up in a tree, Isabel, you're watching as the ship gets unloaded, and as soon as it's unloaded, there's a signal, and the captain starts giving orders, and they set sail. They're heading. From the look of it, as they begin heading off, they're probably going down to Amsterdam. And the foreman manages to get the last little bits tied down, and you could see people, getting their little bits of pay. He does take a moment to kind of look around for the three that disappeared, but he doesn't mind over much. You get the impression maybe he will have pocketed those silvers and said that someone was here working it. As the workers head out, and you see the foreman move over to the little harbor building and go inside, you're guessing he probably lives there. Meanwhile, at about sundown at 6, there's a from the towers, and we see a changing of the guard as they move across, and you could see, kind of looking over the walls, that the ones from the towers head over to the guardhouse, and new guys come out. Pretty easy to see that there are 2 to each tower, and there's the one that's the tower that's nearest the gate where you met and spoke with that guy. There's a guy up in the tower, and the gate guy who's also in that. That's the 2 that are in that tower. So altogether 8 on duty. And the sun goes down, and it's really freaking cold.
Oh.
I think, like, while Isabel's been up in the tree, Wester's just been down at the bottom and sort of hanging out, watching some of the shipments from what he can see a little bit, but mostly sort of bored. And so he pulls out the bugle, and he's got like a hand in front of it, trying to stop it making too much noise. But he's sort of practicing, like, trying to figure out how to do some of the different calls.
All right. As you practice on your bugle. And Calder and Khan return. Do y'all wish to rough it out here for the night, or are y'all going to go somewhere? Khan?
I think we're going to I think this is the time to make our move. Nighttime.
All right.
To quote scripture, "Behold, I come like a thief in the night." And I pat Wester on the shoulder.
None of that was ever proved.
I say it in Latin, so you'll get that it's a religion joke.
All right. So, what's the plan to get in?
I like Calder's original plan if Isabel is willing to go to go with it. Otherwise, so here's our options, I should say. To try to break in via the warehouse door where the little people went in and out. To try to present ourselves as visitors, delivering Isabel as a new lover, or try to present ourselves as visitors, doing a morality inspection. Public decency inspection.
I feel like it would be hilarious to deliver up a lover with like a morality inspection like happening just after. It might give us an excuse to like try and hide, be, you know, unseen by you.
That might foster some chaos too.
Yeah.
You create a little artificial controversy up in the doors, and maybe as they're trying to negotiate, moving us around so that we don't see each other in a Mrs. Doubtfire scenario.
I like that, and it's sort of hard to justify why 3 people are escorting Lucia's new date up into the house.
But well, I look at Yukon and say, you seem like you're handy with the writing. Can you give us a letter of introduction?
I think I can do that.
I mean, I don't know. Those guards seem dumb.
I continue to use the good Reverend's stationery and introduce her as a Spanish orphan.
Excellent.
Who presented herself at the parish, seeking solace and an introduction to the Lady Lucia, and Christian charity.
All right. And we also have. Did you also work up your?
Oh yeah, I have my stadtholder letter.
Cool. All right then. So sounds like we're sending in a team of Isabella and someone with the introduction, the escort, and then we have a separate group that will be the inspector group.
Well, certainly. I think I will take just in case. I think Calder introduced Isabel, so it makes sense for the 2 of you to go, unless you have another idea.
No, I think that's good.
And then I will go with Wester. I'll follow up with Wester after that.
I have this handy, messenger acolyte's robe that I definitely didn't steal off of an unconscious acolyte anywhere.
You know that Protestants don't have acolytes, right?
I was testing you.
All right. So are we doing this tonight? Sounds like, right? We're not waiting till morning.
This is when immorality occurs, is at night, and that's when you begin to check for it.
Is our ultimate goal just to get into the castle and then meet up to explore, or are we trying to divide and conquer, like get as much? Because, I mean, my ultimate goal is just to cause some, havoc and steal something that will be embarrassing or otherwise, bad for her. But I feel like everybody else has got much more personal goals.
My specific goal is to get her shut down, which I think cooperating with her business enemies, her professional enemies, will shut her down and ease the pain of the Pope's.
All right. Okay. So sounds like Group 1, Isabel and Calder. You begin heading up towards the gates. It's a new gate guard that will meet you there. And can I help you?
I will look back at Isabel and just sort of, give a hand and then step forward and, pull out the letter and hand it to him.
He looks over at her. Yeah, it looks like her type for charity. I suppose that you'll be expected. Knock on the door. It'll open for you if she's waiting.
I'll take it back and I say, Sir, I note a tone to your voice, and my ward, I would not simply protect her on the street. Is there something I should be concerned about?
He looks over at Isabella and kind of lowers his
Certainly,
voice.
I would never ask anyone to speak ill of the one who provides their pay, but if you would, do us the kindness of letting us know what we're walking into. I don't think that expression on your face means nothing.
I've never been inside the factory myself, but occasionally strapping young ladies or foppish young men have been known to visit. Ma'am, I hope you brought all you need. Very few of them, well, they don't go into town very often. When they do leave, it's rather straight to the ship for most of them. But her guests are, well, I mean, there's got to be wonders galore inside of there. The mistress is extremely wealthy, and if she's agreed to take you on as a ward, then I'm sure you'll provide good service for her. She likes a lady with a bit of muscles.
You know what? I'm super stressed out about this. You don't have anything that would calm me down a little bit, would you?
He reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a gold-wrapped candy bar. He says, well, you might like a chocolate, ma'am, but I bet the chocolates inside there are just wonderful. The best chocolates are inside there, ma'am.
Why don't
So
they
tasty.
Why don't they give you the best chocolates? You're the gatekeeper of all of this.
She gives us free, and occasionally I will purchase some of the truffles. I like the blueberry ones a lot. And you could see his eyes get this sort of almost feverishness to it, and he's kind of just almost vibrating, twitching, thinking about it. A bit of drool comes down his chin.
I mean, I'll kind of lean into Isabella more, look to just kind of put my arm behind her shoulder and say, after you, miss. But I look at him and I say, does this guy look like he's just stepped out of an opium den to you? And,
I can cut his throat if we need to.
I don't think we were looking to put him out of his misery just yet, my lady.
And I'll just take the chocolate.
Do you take a bite of the chocolate?
I think I perhaps fake as if I'm taking a bite of the chocolate.
Okay. As you peel the wrapper, the smell that hits you, it's beautiful. It's just mouth-watering to smell it, but you kind of pretend and click a little piece off to look like you've taken a bite, and he smiles as you're going by. You see him reach into his pocket, and he pulls out another candy bar, and he starts nibbling on it as you go.
That better not be one of those truffles that you're holding out on me.
No, just a bar, but ma'am, the truffles you're going to taste. Oh, how I envy you. And y'all head up the path to the doors. They are solid in wood. Do you knock on them?
Yeah, I think just gloved hand.
There's a dull thump, thump, thump that sort of echoes behind it. And you may knock again before you hear a little scrabbling behind the door. And it opens just slightly. And you kind of can look into a room that's, you could see, it's beautifully decorated. There is filigreed sort of boundary, borders on the wall. You can see this enormous thick carpet beneath that's there on the floor. And it takes you a second to go and look down at one of the tiny little brown men.
Oh.
He looks up at you.
I kind of look side-eye over at Isabel, but then say, my master bids me present the lady with this, and I hand down the envelope.
He takes it and he moves over to you and kind of sniffs at you and sniffs at Isabel. And he just turns around, heads back through the door, leaving it open.
Please, my lady, this way. I kind of say, performing for no one.
The two of you step inside of this entryway, and as you do, the doors close behind you, caught in some draft. Thump, they close. You can see that the little man at great speed has already scooted across the room and is going through a door. You see it close behind him as he leaves you standing there. The room is decent sized from where you come in. You can see that there is the door he went out of, as well as another door off to the left. In the center of the main wall, there is a beautiful and enormous picture of a woman who is finely dressed, painted. This painting is gorgeous in its detail. It's better than the image, but that is the woman you see. And off casual look, maybe you, Calder, could recognize this probably is a Rubens. So enormously valuable. There are some chairs and a settee against a wall. You can also see that there is a kind of desk set up to, like welcome visitors or whatever. But it has a kind of thin layer of dust on it. And in fact, this whole room has a little bit of that disused smell to it, like not many people come through it. You can also see that there is a, near that painting, there are, look like hands, they're gold, that are acting as hat racks. And you can see hanging from them, there is a beautiful velvet coat hung on it, plum colored. You can see there's a gorgeous black mink coat hanging from one of them. And you also see a black leather apron. It's covered in crusty stains. Brownish stains. There's a sign over the top of the hands that serve as coat racks that says, the price of thievery is written on this little sign. I'm going to cut to Khan and Wester. Your friends have gone in and been in, moved through the gate now 5-10 minutes. Are you planning to follow immediately, or are you going to give a little more time?
Oh, let's not give them too much time. I look at Wester and say, let's square our shoulders, Wester, and act like Dutch gentlemen.
Yes, very fancy and totally in charge of everything.
No, just in charge of everything. Not fancy at all.
Yeah.
All right. The two of you head up to the gate, where you see that the guardsman there is just finishing up a candy bar. You can see he's sort of, as you approach from up above, the guard tower says, "Two coming, sir." And he steps out to the road. It's a night for visitors. How can I help you?
A night for visitors, is it, sir? I am Joachim van der Best.
Mr. van der Best.
I represent the church and the stadtholder of Holland and Utrecht.
Really?
Very official.
I beg your pardon for the informal clothing I have on. It has taken quite a while to travel here with my man. You'll understand if we are weary from the road, but there is the business of God and the stadtholder that we are on.
Well, God usually handles his own business, but the stadtholder certainly concerns me.
Are you loyal to God and the stadtholder, sir?
I am, yes, loyal to God and afraid of the stadtholder and, well, afraid of others. And he kind of casts his gaze back towards the factory. What is this business the stadtholder and God have sent you on?
I hold up my letter. Morality inspection.
Oh, morals.
His eyes kind of widen. Is the mistress expecting you?
Well, if everyone were going to inspect, expected us, it wouldn't be a very good inspection now, would it?
I guess not, sir, but I'll tell you, it's probably going to take more than a
done at night mayst come to light.
It may take more than a piece of paper to open that door, but
a piece of paper in the force of the Lord himself and the stadtholder.
Well, if you'd like to go and see if the mistress will allow you entry, then feel free.
Does the mistress have something to hide?
Like sin?
I imagine we all have sins to hide, don't we?
What?
Nonsense.
Never.
What are we, papists to confess our sins in little closets to a priest? No. No, we are people who repent boldly and openly.
He says, well, the lady of the house is most Catholic, though I highly doubt she's been giving too many confessions lately.
Well,
statue worshippers.
Good for her. Perhaps she has seen the light and the error of her Catholic ways and has grown beyond her upbringing.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on that, sir. But, of course, if you wish to gain entry, I'll wait here to let you back out. He yells up. Two coming through to the door. We'll let them out when they're done. And he opens the gate for you. You head up to the door.
I cross myself as we go by.
You're exceptionally convincing as a Protestant Western. Don't do anything rashly.
Oh, well, I was going to do anything rash, no.
They're still watching. Still watching.
You get to the door, and are you going to knock?
Piously.
Like we belong there.
Bonk, bonk, bonk. We hear the little bit of an echo. Inside, Isabel and Calder. What are you two doing? You've seen these things. You got a few minutes.
I look at Isabel and say, I feel like we stay, but I don't think that thing went to fetch anybody. I almost feel like we kind of have the run of the place. I mean, look at it. It's dusty. There's not been a servant around to clean. I mean, it's a factory. You wouldn't think they'd be like that.
Yeah, it almost felt like we came in the wrong door. And I think Isabel is kind of like probably snooping around the desk a little bit, trying to figure out if there's anything like if there's a visitor's guide here.
You start looking through the desk, and it has an inkwell. The pen has a blotter for it. You see there is a book, and as you flip through it, there are very few names on it, and it simply gives the name and the date of when they arrived. And you could see that in a lot of cases, they also have where they left, but not in all cases. And in the past, say 2 months, maybe 4 people have come visiting. a name that, as you're looking through, just kind of flipping through. And again, not many on there, but you do see that the Countess of Somerset was one of the visitors that had come and left. And you may have even heard, this has kind of made the scandal rags of the time, that she is currently in the Tower of London for having attempted to murder her husband. Other than that, there doesn't seem, again, it's almost like there's no paperwork. There's like nothing is ever really done at this desk.
Yeah. Okay.
Are the codes sized for the? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I communicate that to Calder and ask him if he has any interest in a coat.
They are dressed to normal sized people. That mink.
Okay.
I mean, you know the finer things. Hell, that thing's probably worth 60 silver on its own.
And, I mean, so far as we've heard, she has no guests right now?
Has no guests right now.
Is that sign that says the price of thievery covering up, are the coats covering up the rest of a message there?
As you kind of pull things to the side to look, these coat holders, these hands that the coats are hanging from, you begin to realize those aren't cast. Those are real hands that have been dipped in gold.
I'm writing Calder's name in the book, the guest book, with the date.
I probably don't realize that. I look a little bit surprised, and I'll leave the mink here. I think that, we'll be heading out. As a matter of fact, I'll take my oil cloak and hang it up.
Ooh.
All right. Putting it on there. You do notice it is remarkably warmer in here. Even though it's kind of got that disused look to it, it is piping warm, especially compared to outside. And the two of you might even jump a little as there is a boom, boom, boom on the door.
I'll look and I'll say, either that's our friends or somebody else unexpected is coming. Maybe we should set to the side, see if somebody shows up. I'm just curious if one of those little creatures shows up again.
All right. You kind of step off to the side and
open up so we can observe your sin.
You hear from the other side. And a few moments later, comes scuttling through one of the little brown men. He opens up the door a crack. You guys outside see him look up at you with his enormous eyes, his kind of pointy teeth, mouth hanging open. He says in a language you don't recognize, if it is indeed a language.
Well, you're very scantily clad. We're here as morality inspectors.
To inspect your morality.
He sniffs at the both of you. Slams the door in your face.
Can we try to interrupt that?
You certainly can.
Yeah.
First off, Patrick, I don't know, did you take... You did not take the rapidy thing, did you? Oh, reflexes, you do. No, I'm sorry, that's Calder.
I am very fast, though.
Okay.
I think both of us are fast. Not really fast.
Let's have you really quick then roll a dex there.
Okay. Is it me or like Wester? Are you? Or well, I'll do this. It was my idea. Okay. 1 second. That is a 10.
Oh, excellent! You get your foot in there, and as he's trying to close it, you stop it. You pushing your way in?
Yes, I am pushing my way in. It's just like, we understand that it is an inconvenient time, but sin never happens at a convenient time.
He bites at your ankle, just leans out, and starts trying to bite your ankle. Wester, you see this, and Con, he bites into your boot, and you can feel that pressure that's coming on is quite tremendous. He hadn't made it through your boot yet, but he might be able to, given a few moments here.
Back, unbeliever!
I see no reason to get violent. It's possible that your mistress can just come talk to us. That it's all a terrible misunderstanding, and that there will be no. We can wait for her.
This little guy seems like he is going to continue gnawing at your foot, and he's kind of trying to push you, bite you and shoving you back towards the door. Behind you, Calder and Isabella, you see this. You're muted, Tejas.
I look a little surprised, and given that we just saw them sort of like show up and then walk away, I'll try and, like, without saying anything, just kind of give you a hand sign, just go.
He goes, no. Little guy is continuing to bite at you, and would you roll a d4 as he's bitten through your boot?
That is a 4.
He bites into your ankle and begins drawing blood as you take 4 points of damage.
That is all I've got.
Oof. Do you have any armor?
Yep.
There's probably then a tremendous pain as we see Khan, you fall. This little thing, and as he falls down, it looks up towards you, Western.
Yeah, I'm going to stab it in the throat.
All right. Are you doing this with a more finesse type move, or are you using just brute strength?
I think I'm waiting for just the moment when it like looks up and bares its teeth in a sort of menacing posture, which is when I can get right in there.
All right.
For Dex.
Sounds like Dex.
Oh, well, that's a 6.
As you come charging to take a strike at him, this thing is enormously fast, but you still manage to just kind of nick the side of that head, but it makes a noise, kind of like you're hitting wood. It sort of goes bonk, almost hollow-like, as it bounces off, and he goes and nips you on your wrist. Roll me a d4.
I'd rather not. I got a very slow page. 1.
You take 1 point of damage as he just kind of nips at you with his long, pointy teeth. Isabella, you're seeing this. What would you like to do?
Yeah, so Isabel's been watching this go down and has been cautiously pulling her bow out and loading up an arrow. And I think she'll just, let fly.
All right. Sounds like Dex, I'm betting.
Oh, God. Plus Dex? Yeah, so that's the 1. Yep. So that's a 5.
Oof. As you fire across, this little thing manages to skitter off to the side, and your arrow smacks into the door, quivering there for a moment, as your bowstring goes twang and breaks, slapping back across. It'll take a few moments to restring that. Boy, these little things are tough, aren't they? Calder. This thing is causing all sorts of mayhem here, but so far he hasn't like screamed or he's winning, so he hadn't yelled or anything. And the rest of the factory still is quiet.
Right. You know what? Now that Isabella's actually taking a hand, I was hoping that they just close the door and then we'd open it up for them whenever it left. But yeah, I think now does it look like it's menacing her since she shot at it, or does it look like it's going to continue going after Wester?
It's probably going after Wester still, just because he's closest. He tried to stab him in the eye, and Isabel missed completely.
Right. I'm going to stand in front, just like step in front of Isabella, for a moment, and basically as soon as it like turns away to then like focus on Wester again, I'm suddenly going to like slide up and just pull both of my weapons out and try to get it across the back.
Fantastic. Is that finesse fighting, or are you more of a strengthy fighter?
I wrote down rapier, but I get a feeling it's more of a saber. He tends to strong arm things. Oh, okay. So that's an 11 plus 2, so that's a 13.
Oh, fantastic. Your weapon damage on that is?
It is D6 plus 1, but because I use the second weapon, I can re-roll it.
All right. Roll us up your damage real quick. You don't have to roll particularly great on this little guy, but there's still a possibility.
It's a 6, 7, and because of my ability, I think that's a 9.
You slash through and just have little to no problem as you stab into him. And he sort of just crumples down.
What I'm actually trying to do is basically like slide up behind him and take him right through the back and just sort of like pull him back in with, the knife so that like the guards don't see this. I mean, because they must be watching. And then I try and get these guys indoors before people really make out that there's a kerfuffle.
You have no trouble whatsoever pulling him back, and as you kind of get in, the door closes behind you. We have Khan, who's you say it put you at exactly 0, didn't it?
Yeah.
Who you could see his ankle's bleeding pretty badly. You're semi-conscious, we could say.
Let's see. This is more of a rules question. But it says, if you rest and consume a ration or water wineskin, you can re-roll. Now, I've got jack shit, but yeah, I think like one of these guys has something.
Do you?
I look around. I was like, somebody got something like wine, water, and I, point to his ankle, and basically I try to. I've been in enough fights that I can at least bandage him up and shove some water down his throat and kind of get him somewhere that he can rest for a moment and kind of shake it off.
Yeah, I think I've gone to grab like one of these coats that's hanging up on the wall, and I'll have a nice moment of like, of course, the sign, the hands, whatever. And I come back to hold it around his ankle, sort of clawed it a little bit there, and yeah, I have a wineskin.
Okay. Giving you a bit of, y'all take a few minutes to an hour, getting him bandaged up and kind of giving you a chance to rest up. All of you can take a moment to heal, to rest and heal. The factory, completely quiet. The little man that is dead, he's fallen down there, and his head has just slightly cracked. And inside, you could see looks almost like a nutshell inside. But his body, having collapsed, the blood is a deep brown. It smells delicious.
Oh, this is not right. Look at you guys. And then suddenly, like, with a suspicion, I go back. You said there's an apron with, like, brown stains on it? I kind of go over and give it a quick sniff.
There is, from one, a sweet, coppery smell, and you've been in battle often enough to smell blood. But some others, the sweetness of chocolate.
I think we need to burn this place down.
Rich, did you? You should roll for a heal there, which is basically like rolling for your hit points again.
I just did, and got the better of it because I am using my trained healer ability on myself.
Excellent.
Rather than helping Wester, sorry, Wester.
Thanks, buddy.
And
sorry. But I'm like, no. If we just burn it down, it looks like jealous business sabotage. It can't look like jealous business sabotage. It has to look like she earned it.
I point at the little dude and I say, I think she's earned it.
Also, there's some Catholics who want to give us money.
You're the
Some
boss.
Good French Catholics who want to give us a whole lot of money.
All right, I do want to go ahead because we've gotten through some things and give out our XP we've accumulated thus far as well. Having gone through the docks and have solved things there, I'm giving 50 points for that. I'm giving 50 points for us having gotten through the guards at the gate. That was well done. And I'm giving 100 for defeating our little man here, because he ended up being fairly tough. So altogether, we should have 200. And again, this is purely in a meta sense, but we know that money is XP in this game. Do we want to consider that, like where we've taken down that velvet coat and used it as a bandage? I could say we sort of have stolen that, have taken it, which would be another. And I think I'm going to give this just to every treasure bonus to just everybody rather than try and split it up. But that's a $40 or 40 silver piece plum coat. And if you'd like, you can also grab that mink coat as well. That's up to y'all.
I kind of one of the things that I was thinking about was essentially like framing this little walnut guy, like wrapping his arms around the black mink coat so that I don't know if that makes any sense. So that if anyone were to come by, knowing that there's also this apron that I assume is like the slaughter apron for if somebody steals something, maybe
we just set the slaughter apron on the ground behind the desk and put that over him.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like he needs to be out of sight, out of mind.
Okay.
I hate for all these beautiful, beautiful minks created by God to have died in vain.
And so taking it, that's another 60 silver pieces. So altogether, it sounds like 300 XP. Question also is, you have this gorgeous painting here, and we have the two doors exiting out after you've spent this hour here. The painting is quite large, so I don't know if it's exactly something you can say you're stealing right now, but do y'all want to mess with it at all? Do you?
I have a dagger. Let's get it out of the frame, rolled up and ready to go.
Excellent. As you put your dagger into the frame of it, there's a gust of air, and poof, a greenish mist comes flooding out, surrounding you. And was anyone else helping him there with him?
I mean, I was definitely helping him steal the painting.
And engulfs the two of you.
I was going to carry it for him because, paintings are so heavy and you don't need to be burdened down. What's that?
Would you both roll a con roll for me, please?
Got a 10.
Oh, lucky dog.
I got a 6.
As this mist comes across you, you could feel your face and your hands, as it drifts down onto it, begin to itch and tighten. Your throat also seems to tighten. And you see, pulling up from your hand and the rest of you on his face, are little pink rock-looking structures, crystals, almost. And you have contracted a disease, rock candy skin, as the smell of sugar sort of permeates your senses there.
Yummy.
Isabel tosses the candy bar over to him.
Thanks.
Like,
And Wester, you had the option of rerolling hit points when we took that rest.
Oh, do you not need to ration?
Oh, that's
or
true.
anything?
You do need to eat rations.
Yeah.
You're gonna hold with your one off.
Yeah.
So far, it hasn't. I mean, it hasn't really done damage to you, but you do. I mean, your skin itches, and there are these. They feel like rocks as you touch them.
Very unpleasant. A little sweet.
It is, as you taste it, quite sugary. You pull down the painting and roll it up, and that, since you've cut it out of the frame, makes it a little less valuable, but still, you all get 750. That's a 750
what?
silver piece
Good call on that one.
painting, which
All
will give
right.
everybody a level.
Very nice.
It's great. I feel good with my level.
Should we re-roll for hit points now?
I'll let you, yeah.
Yeah.
So if everyone would like to, they can do a kind of free re-roll here on this.
What's the roll on this one?
Since you're second level now, you'll be rolling 1 for each hit die, so 2, plus any bonus you have for con. You'll roll that many dice, and then since you're second level, take the 2 highest and add them together. At third level, you take 3, but you add them together, and that's now your new hit points. Again, it's odd that no one has seemed to come to check on anything. There seems to be no sort of alarm. It's all very quiet here.
I was gonna say, like, how do we get out of here? Like, in this hour of him taking care, I am unsettled by all of this, and so I start kind of like going up and down the corridors. My first inclination was actually to like do all this first aid in another room, but then when nobody else showed up.
Okay, so you opened up. Did you open up the door the little man had come from, or did you open up the other door?
The door that he came from, is it just from my sense, like in the direction of the 3 loading dock doors?
It is. It's in the direction of the bulk of the factory. The other one, this entryway is kind of at a corner. The other one would be going straight back down the wall along that side.
I mean, I probably opened them both just to see what's beyond.
Okay.
Well, you cracked and peeked.
You crack and peek the one that he didn't come out of and look in it, and you see that there is a meeting room. It has an enormous table at it and chairs. You can see there's a table set up with all of the most beautiful of these chocolate truffles and a sign in Dutch, French, English, and German, which says, try one, written on it. But all of these beautiful chocolates there. You also see that there is a decanter of probably brandy, some sort of liqueur, and glasses. And also in here, looking in, you can see, some bottles of wine off to the side, a bottle of gin, several other liquor bottles that you don't immediately recognize. You see all of the fancy chocolates there looking lovely. And this room it is cleaner. It's very tidy. And it has lights on candelabras, making a warm light around. And there are 3 more paintings. Again, all by Rubens. And if you'd like to look in our character aids, I have 3 pictures in there. One is The Last Judgment, which is a famous Rubens painting. However, this one, rather than having Jesus there, we see Lucia de Castillo in all of her glory. And the damned figures below her are all resembling reformist Calvinist leaders, such as Martin Luther, John Calvin, Henry VIII, and Julian Hernandez. But there's others of these sinners of Protestantism where she's striding over them. There is also the Venus at a mirror, but it has Lucia instead of Venus there, looking lovely, and there is a lot of her, so she is certainly Rubenesque. And finally, the drunken Hercules, but with Lucia in place of our titular hero, and the devil, rather than supporting him, she has stepped on, and he lies bruised and battered at her feet. But they are beautifully painted, and of course, of a master. As you look in that door, that's what you see, just looking in. And then looking out the other door where the little man had come, it's a corridor. And it's easy to, you could see that it runs quite a distance off to the left. And you could see that it has a little bit of a turn, so you can't see it, but goes up. If you look to the right, goes up out of your sight around the corner. And there is a door kind of directly opposite where you're looking out in the face there. And it's a double door, and it's carved with trees, jungle-looking scene, vines and trees all over it. And like I say, the corridor continues up, but from the look of it, it just sort of dead ends up there.
Actually, just to get out of the main entry, I'd probably say, like, hey, if we're bandaging him up, you guys might as well come in here. And just because there's this conference room. Were there other doors out of the conference room? Or
There are two doors out of the conference room. One is if you continue straight across. The other is opening up to what you would figure is that corridor that turned the corner you saw from the other one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to try and explore too much while they're still laid up. I'd probably spend the time kind of like checking out, since... Are the paintings actually signed by Rubens?
They are.
Wow. And then the wine. I don't know if there's a skill for this. I'm just more thinking of my background as I look at it. Is this essentially just like table wine, or is this like fine wine, something that somebody would be surprised is out of a cellar?
Right. These are, looking at these bottles, these are exquisite vintages. They are exclusively Spanish, so, if you were a snob and said, oh, Spanish wine, but these are exceptional vintages.
Okay. And Isabel probably recognizes like the best bottle out of that batch, and pours us a couple glasses, and hands one. He's like, yeah.
All right. It's fantastic. And if you wish, you can, kind of grab the other bottles if you'd like. It'll be something that you have should you need healing later on.
Yeah. I was going to say I'd take the bottles, but I was going to say if we're really to try to embarrass her, I almost want to, like, as opposed to taking the painting, deface them in some way, like draw mustaches on each of her,
Whew. You could do that.
Yes, but think of all the money we'd be burning away in the fire.
Also, she doesn't show these paintings to people besides herself. So defacing them gains us a little. Showing them to the outside world gains us so much.
It's not as if people don't already know about her hubris.
But people don't know about her anti-Protestantism.
All right. So do y'all go over and take these again? Remembering what happened last time.
Yeah. It came from, like, cutting into them?
It came from some sort of...
Could you
Are they firmly mounted to the wall? Like, can they lift away? Is there something that's going to, jet something out? Or does it look like it came when they cut the canvas itself?
It seemed like it when they cut the canvas. What were you saying, Rich?
Could you check for something, Wester?
Yeah, it may not be
Without
wise to
without
just
cutting
mess with
anything,
them first.
just check. Just check.
All right. That certainly falls into your abilities there. Sound like an intelligence, you think?
Wester, you're so brilliant at these things.
Yeah. I'll check. We're gonna have a conversation in a moment about what you know about strange rocks growing out of my skin. It's a 9 + 1 is 10.
Excellent. Looking back behind this, you can see that, or looking it over, there's kind of where the painting ends, but the back of the frame is. You could see that there is some sort of mechanism that, if it's disturbed, does like a billows and will shoot out this gas. If you're careful, you think you could disarm that.
Yeah, I think as I'm just like glancing behind the painting, I see that, and I pull out the empty wineskin that I'd given to Khan there, and like just barely eking the frame out and slipping the wineskin sort of up to the nozzle as I pull the frame harder to set it off, and just right into the
bag. All right, you stop it real quick. Repeating this process across the three, you guys are able to pull these paintings, roll them up, stash them away. That's a lot of XP. It is kind of worth noting, this is the moment you get a bunch of your money. So I don't feel bad about this at all, as you've picked up 2250 silver pieces worth. Which will take y'all up another level, honestly.
3,300.
Yep, that should get y'all up to
33.
33. Meaning that you
another skill and another ability.
That is correct. And y'all can look over those and choose something. As we're heading towards our end of time. We've got about 15 minutes. So I'd kind of like for us to first off, I want to ask, did anybody taste one of these delectable looking chocolates?
Isabel went for one of the blueberry truffles, if there was one, or that's what she was looking for.
You certainly could find one. It has a little crystallized blueberry sitting perfectly on the tip top of it.
And I think that while Wester was disarming the trap, she was kind of like sitting on the table or leaning against the table, and she's like pops one of these in her mouth, and she's just looking at him and is like, "That's not a good idea. What are you thinking? That's a terrible idea," and just chomps down on this blueberry truffle.
Would you be so kind as to roll me a D12?
What? What have I done? 11. Uh-oh.
You were looking over, I believe, at Wester, right? As you were saying.
Yeah, as he was disarming maybe the last of these paintings.
And as you look at him and the skill he uses for this, it's just tremendous. And now that you look at him, he's a right handsome young man.
Oh, is he?
An attractive man. As you feel that rush of affection. You can put down, if you'd like, you have the effect of euphoric love with Wester as sort of the object of this, and feel free to play that up how you'd like. I'm not going to attempt to take agency from your character, but that will be, you've got these sort of artificial emotions that have sprung up. Fine chocolates will put one in the amorous mood. And so, as we have cut down these paintings, and do we wish to look out the doors here, just to check and see what we are on either side of this place?
Yeah, I can check one door.
All right. Looking out one, it opens up into into a corridor where you see a door opposite, and opening up the other one is just a corridor up and down with nothing on it. And so, as you get finished here, you kind of begin moving out a little bit. The door to straight across the north is the one that has a door opposite it. Or you could, and it's no doubt in your mind that the other one that opens into a corridor, that corridor is the same one that Calder has seen all the way down. It's one long corridor.
I would say if that corridor seems like it's heading in the direction of the factory, the majority of what we're really going to reap benefit from, although to an extent these paintings are worth more than what they're going to pay us. But I'd say the factory is going to be our best bet in terms of getting the things that might injure her the most if they were shared with the outside world.
Sound good? And so you head out into this hallway, and now that you've stepped out into it and you're getting a good look at it, it has the most beautiful wallpaper. All of fruits, some very normal fruits that you've seen before: apples, strawberries, blueberries. Others, more exotic: pineapples and bananas, and even a few that you don't really recognize. In particular, you notice a kind of purpley pink clusters of berries. And there's a smell that seems to come from all around you of these fresh and wonderful fruits. You begin heading down the corridor back towards where the factory is, and you pass, in fact, that door that we first looked out of from the entryway to where the only door leading in to further to the factory is. The big double doors with the many vines and trees on it. Anyone, as you're walking by this wallpaper in here, the smell is just wonderful, and you can't, you sort of sniff over towards the wallpaper, and it does have a, it is the source of this smell, and it is delicious.
Yeah, that's great and magical seeming, I'm sure. Father, so there's these rocks growing out of my skin. I thought maybe with some of your holy expertise.
Reverend Elder, not Father.
Yes, that's definitely what I meant. And is the important point in this conversation.
I'm, after all, not a Catholic.
No, and we wouldn't want to present you as such. We wouldn't want me to yell that to everyone that we meet in here or everyone down the street, now would we? Rock, skin.
Isabel walks over and just says, "I can make that better," and just like licks one of those rocks of skin.
Is it
okay
dissolving under the licking?
She's presenting an attractive new option for healing.
It is sweet, and indeed, as she licks on it, it does sort of lick away. But as soon as she pulls back, you see the rocks reform and crystallize.
Yeah, this euphoric love is not going to work out for her.
Oh, okay. Ow, that hurts. Ow. No, okay. Maybe not licking them right now.
All right.
Your silence fills me with confidence.
There's a theory that sugar is a demon. Or a curse. It certainly goes to your waist. Um, I would like to see if I can say a little Latin incantation that would cure this vile disease / curse.
All right.
Should I roll with wisdom?
I think so. I think that
Okay.
you're calling upon, your knowledge and your faith.
That is a 10.
Oh, fantastic.
And I have cure. I took cure as an ability
Mm-hmm.
when I leveled up.
As you kind of lay your hands and you're praying, where your hands touch, these crystals begin to just drop away. They hit the ground, shattering into little rock, sand, salt. Drop from your face.
Okay, that's better. I'll give you. That's better. The licking was more aesthetically pleasing.
You do look twice as sweet now, Wester.
You won't see a Presbyterian do that. I say, Wester on the shoulder.
Sounds like a
Probably
reason not to be Presbyterian.
As if you needed reasons not to be Presbyterian.
All right. And so, with this candy having dropped away from you, we're going to come to our end, but I'm going to have we open the doors. They're, it's where y'all are going, these double doors. And so far, there's been some oddnesses to this place. I mean, growing candy from your arms is a little odd. The little guy, kind of odd. It is nothing compared to the stunned silence all of you have as the doors open. And inside, you see almost as though there's daylight, these lights above, shining down. There's a green carpeting of grass. There are trees rising up, and dripping from the trees, you can see candy canes, candied apples. You can see crystallized berries. There are flowers that are giving off the sweet aroma, but as you look at them, some of them are cinnamon buns. And others of them are almond paste. Through the center of this room, there is a chocolate river flowing, and a waterfall of the chocolate rumbles 30 feet down into it. There is a boat on this little chocolate river, long, thin, with paddle wheels, and a gaily painted canopy over it. Looking down at the grass, you realize that it's licorice. And as you look in, you can see about a dozen of the little nut-headed men working, tending the flowers, occasionally taking a fruit from the tree and eating it. And you can hear them all in their strange little voices singing. And that's where we're going to stop for the night. I hope y'all like the first session of Blood in the Chocolate.
Yeah, I feel like I should be smoking something, but yeah.
We will start next time with us entering into the Chocolate River Room, which is very much the center of our factory, and discovering some of the delicious wonders we have in store.
Oh no, I already got pretty delicious hives.
Yes. We've built up some pretty good XP. We will build up some more. This isn't a game where I give any at the end. Exactly, we build it up as we went, but we did pretty good. So I think that that probably wraps us. I would like to ask, just go down kind of the line real quick. Is there anything? We won't do a roses and thorns. I would like to do one at the end of the next one. But is there something that you'd like to just to hit to say this was neat, or something you'd like to see in the next one? So I'm just going to come straight down from you, Mike, and ask away. What do you think, Mike? Anything you'd like to see next time, or thought was interesting this time?
Oh God, everyone's like play is like really great. Like I think like all the characters, and I liked the way that people, essentially like went into full monologue mode at sometimes. I think Khan's like a really cool character. I really like. I think that it's an interesting undercurrent in all of this is the sort of like Protestant versus Catholic thing. So I'm really interested in seeing how that plays out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
I'll try and play a little more with that because we are kind of hitting it, and there is an undercurrent for that. So I think that's cool. Patrick, anything you'd like to see or want to comment on this one?
I also like Khan and the constant like, wait, which religious character is he playing at the moment? Because he's got like 3. And similarly, I like everybody's twisted reasons to come in here and lie to all of the others about why they're doing it, basically. How we have just like people using people on top of people using people sort of thing. I think that's neat. And I don't think it'll be a particular problem, but I think the candy diseases are super awesome. So I'd love to see more of those. I don't know if you were planning on any more.
We may see a couple more. Rich, anything you'd like to see in the next one or comment on this one?
I love the candy diseases. I think Jason killed 2 of us a year ago with candy diseases. I think David and I both died of candy diseases by the end of the game.
Nice.
I was barfing up snozzleberries, and I forget what was wrong with David, but we were both dead by the time the game was over. So more candy diseases is fantastic. And any game in which I get to play a secret agent of the Pope is just the best. So
I love that character. So cool. All right. And Tejas, anything you'd like to see or comments for this one?
I don't know. I feel like these guys have already covered so much ground. I think the module itself is just super creative. And I will say, I think you're doing like a really good job of making it evocative of like, kind of representing, what we're seeing, what's going on. Like, the voices of the little creature dudes. I think that's excellent.
Cool. Thank you. All right. I want to say real quick that you guys came up with some really wonderful characters. I think all of them are so neat. They're little. I love Isabel as this kind of vengeance, violent character that's out there she's going to get even. And I like that. Wester is super neat. And Patrick, you always play a real nice on that edge of being, just a mercenary jerk and being a team player goody guy. And it's neat to see it. I'm telling you, Khan is so cool. I love the character. Everything in that is so neat and deep. And Tejas, you always do a primo job when you're doing that, kind of a face, sort of the talking. You always are so spot on with it, and it's been a really cool character to see. I'm hoping that I felt like we did pretty good about getting through stuff. I know we've got only one more session, but I feel like our pace was pretty good. So my hope is to keep our pace up and get through some things, and I will try not to. The worst thing I think that could happen is if I get bogged down in one place and we don't keep moving. So I'm going to try and avoid that.
I was going to say, I think that this is the sort of thing that it's really easy to get over-involved with over-analyzing all the different, because there's so many, neat little nuggets to go check out. So feel free to just, ogres kick down the door, get us moving towards the end game.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, gang, I'm going to stop the broadcast here.